the harvest of stars. The colony orbited on the knife edge of light and shadow, suspended above the roiling storms of a gas giant. Below, endless orange clouds twisted with lightning. But above, in the skeletal farming stations, the real work began. The Thrynn drifted in silence among the soil pods. Their long, jointed limbs moved with reverent care, adjusting nutrient drips and brushing away stray motes of dust. To them, agriculture was worship, every seed placed with deliberate ceremony, every irrigation measured by sacred algorithm. The pods glowed faintly, filled with nutrient slurry that shimmered like liquid crystal. The humans arrived late, clattering through the docking bay as if the station were nothing more than a barn back on Earth. Grease smears across their clothes, laughter booming through the sterile corridors. They looked like a demolition crew rather than farmers. To the Thrynn, they were chaos incarnate. Loud voices reverberating off the walls, tools strapped to belts, duct tape looped around their wrists. Where the Thrynn chanted prayers before lowering a seed, the humans whistled off-key tunes while hurling handfuls of fertilizer into pods. Thrynn, overseer of the Thrynn cultivators, recorded the day's log with a trembling claw. The humans' presence will end in catastrophe. Their disregard for order borders on sacrilege. Yet, despite their horror, the crops sprouted faster under human hands than the Thrynn had ever seen. Still, Thrynn muttered as he observed the humans wrestling with a tangled irrigation line. They will break everything. And then, one of the pods began to leak. It was a slow seep at first, just a faint silver thread curling away from the seam of the nutrient tank. The Thrynn noticed it immediately. Their kind always noticed. Thrynn raised his claws in alarm. Contain it. Seal the chamber. Consult the protocols. Thrynn voices chimed in chorus, as if ritual precision alone might fix the breach. But no one moved. The nutrient slurry was sacred. To touch it improperly, without proper ritual and sterilization, would desecrate the crop. Entire harvests had been lost this way in past generations. The humans, however, did not hesitate. Mara, their de facto leader, gave a sharp whistle and vaulted toward the leaking pod, boot magnets clanking against the bulkhead. She slapped her palm against the seam, smearing herself with glowing sludge. "Get me a torch, some scrap metal, and tape," she barked. Thrynn recoiled. You cannot touch it. The pods must be purified, blessed." "Bless it later," Mara growled. "Right now it's drowning your food." The Thrynn froze, horrified at the sacrilege unfolding before them. The humans swarmed in, a tangle of shouting voices, tools tossed through the air, boots clanging, sparks flying. They plunged bare hands into nutrient goo, pulling cables and jamming spanners into seams. The silver leak grew into a gushing wound. The nutrient solution drifted into the chamber in glittering globules, threatening to contaminate other pods. And the humans dove headfirst into it. The scene became pandemonium. Humans kicked off walls, paddling through the floating slurry like children in a swimming hole. One welded while another shouted measurements. Someone banged a pipe with a wrench, declaring, "It'll fit if we force it." To the Thrynn, it was madness. Nutrient globes stuck to the humans' hair and skin, glowing like constellations. They coughed, spat, and laughed as though suffocating sludge was just another day's labor. Thryn's every nerve screamed. They will poison the entire crop. They will poison themselves. Yet, amid the chaos, a strange rhythm emerged. Mara barked orders, others improvised solutions, and the wild energy flowed like a storm harnessed. Where the Thrynn relied on flawless procedure, the humans seemed to thrive in disaster. "Clamp it there," Mara shouted. A length of piping, bent at an impossible angle, was rammed against the pod seam. Sparks flew as a torch welded it crudely in place. The leak slowed, but then the nutrient pump groaned, straining against the blockage. The Thrynn gasped. If the pump failed, the entire pod cluster would collapse. The humans heard the groan too, and instead of retreating, they grinned. "Guess we'll need to hack the pump," one muttered, cracking their knuckles. Thrynn whispered in horror. "Hack the pump?" The humans set to tearing apart the machine that sustained their very harvest. Metal shards floated. Wires dangled. Sparks danced like fireflies. The humans had gutted the pump as if gutting a fish, their tools striking with reckless abandon. "By the ancestors, stop them," one Thrynn cried. But Ketheri could not move. His limbs locked in paralyzed awe as the humans worked. One of them ripped insulation from a cable with their teeth. Another lashed the new piping into place with duct tape, wrapping until their gloves dripped glowing sludge. Mara plunged both arms deep into the pod, twisting, wrenching, ignoring burns on her forearms. The pump shrieked, then fell silent. For one breathless moment, everything floated still. Then the repaired pump roared to life. Fluid gushed through the makeshift piping, rattling the pod walls. The leak sealed. The flow stabilized. The humans howled in triumph, slapping palms, spinning in midair. But the Thrynn did not cheer. They stared at the nutrient mixture inside the pod. The sludge had shifted hue, from silver to a luminous emerald. The seedlings inside twitched unnaturally, roots glowing as they drank in the altered blend. Ketheri whispered, "You have corrupted the crop." Mara floated there, smeared with sludge and sweat, chest heaving. "No, we saved it." Yet even the humans could see the seedlings pulsing with strange new life. The days that followed were filled with dread. The Thrynn performed cleansing chants, waving fragrant vapors through the pod chambers, as if sacred smoke might undo the humans' meddling. Ketheri watched the seedlings obsessively. They grew too fast, too bright. Roots tangled with one another in glowing knots. Leaves stretched wider than the pod's standard allowances. "This is abomination," Ketheri muttered to his aides. "If the nutrient flows spread, the corruption will infect every station pod." The humans, meanwhile, treated it as a grand experiment. "You see how fast it's growing?" one said with glee. "Stronger than anything we've planted yet," another added. Mara simply smirked. "Told you chaos gets results." Ketheri nearly snapped at her, but then a strange pulse shivered through the chamber. The hybrid plants released a burst of luminescent spores, glittering motes that drifted in zero gravity like stars. The Thrynn flinched back in terror, shielding their breathing vents. To inhale foreign spores was unthinkable. The humans reached out laughing, letting the spores cling to their fingers. And when they tested the spores in the station's analyzer, the results shook everyone. The readouts blazed across the monitor, nutrient density threefold higher than baseline. Protein structures previously unknown. Essential amino acids synthesized without additional supplementation. "This could feed entire fleets," Mara murmured. The Thrynn cultivators whispered frantically. "It is unstable, dangerous. No protocol accounts for this." Ketheri's claws trembled. He had been raised from birth to believe every step of planting, every fraction measured, was perfection. Yet before him, the humans' reckless intervention had birthed something the Thrynn could never have imagined. Worse, it thrived. The other pods, linked by irrigation systems, began to glow as spores spread. Instead of collapsing, the harvest flourished at unnatural speed. "This is no accident," one Thrynn muttered bitterly. "It is corruption. Blight." But Ketheri stared longer. The seedlings weren't shriveling. They weren't mutating into ruin. They were strong, resilient, bending but not breaking under the altered slurry. The humans had not destroyed the harvest. They had transformed it. Still, Ketheri's mandibles clicked nervously as the first hybrid fruit swelled, its surface glowing faintly like a captured star. And the question no one could answer was it safe to eat? The fruit was brought to the council chamber, suspended in a stasis field. Its glow painted alien faces in shifting emerald. The Thrynn council argued in fearful voices. "Unclean. Unpredictable. It must be destroyed before it spreads." Mara cut them off with a laugh that cracked like thunder. She reached into the stasis field, plucked the fruit, and bit into it. Juice glowed across her chin. The chamber erupted in horrified cries. But Mara chewed, swallowed, and grinned. Sweet. Tart. Stronger than anything back home. She raised it high. "This isn't blight, it's a gift." Ketheri's throat tightened. For generations, his people had treated farming as untouchable ritual. Yet in a single moment of chaos, humans had leapt into danger, torn apart sacred machinery, drowned themselves in sludge, and created a miracle. The Thrynn saw them not as reckless anymore, but as terrifying forces of reinvention. Creatures who broke rules the way stars broke darkness. Ketheri bowed low, trembling. Humans, you have harvested the stars themselves. The humans only laughed, clinking mugs of recycled coffee, and set about naming their new crop. They called it Orkfrit.